Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be installing the GPS tracker and kill switch on the Suzuki SX4. Joanna's currently at work, but I got my trusty assistant right here. Hey Rocky, come on. He's not too excited. The system we use for our cars is TrackMateGPS. This one actually came off the Mazda Miata that we just sold, so we'll be reusing it for the Suzuki SX4. It's got a ground, a power, ignition, and then this one is actually for the kill switch, which is the relay. This is a relay for the kill switch, which for this car, I think we're going to hook it up to the ignition to where the key goes. Some of the basic tools we'll need are these plastic pry bars that won't damage the interior, wire cutters, wire strippers, test light, voltmeter, and some good electrical tape. Super 33 3M. Oh, and this flashlight. So first thing before we get started, we want to remove the negative terminal off the battery, just in case, since we're taking apart the dash, we don't want something to electrocute us or, the airbags to go off. We'll end up reconnecting it before we install the GPS. First thing I'm going to do is start prying all this off right here, and maybe even the gauge cluster, because we have to find a place to put the GPS tracker inside the dash, but where it's still facing so the satellites can reach the signal. It's not very hard, just start prying all this off. This comes out pretty easily, and this won't scratch. Here too. Sometimes there is screws down here, so you just gotta be careful not to pry it off completely without checking for screws. And we're gonna take these off. Be sure to keep all your screws together in like a little magnetic. All right, so I ended up having to pop these things off the side, just with a little pry tool. Took out the radio. There's only 4 screws, real simple. Took off this, 2 screws, and now I was able to remove the top of the dash. Super simple. This one only has like 2 screws right here holding it on, and I'll be able to reach the back of the dash and put the GPS tracker back there. So I was able to remove the instrument cluster, and right now I'm looking for a place to put the tracker. And I think I found some spot right here. And then all I gotta do now is just put some double-sided tape so it doesn't move. And then run the wires, these right here, run them down and find where to connect them to. All through the back. All right, so I was able to put the tracker right there with 3M tape, double-sided tape, connected the wire. And I was able to ground that cable right there, the black cable, and I ran the other cables down. Don't mind the carpet. This car needs a lot of work. Next, we need power, constant power, ignition, and again, this is for the kill switch relay. Now to hook up the negative battery back so we can try to find out where we're going to hook up those wires. So the first wire I'm gonna look for is a 12-volt constant power with the ignition off. And a good place to look for that is behind the radio. There's a bunch of wires. And I think I was never able to narrow it down to this wire right here. And you can tell because with the test light, it should come on with the ignition off. There you go. And to double check, I have my multimeter here. Just ground it out right there and connecting it there, and you'll see off, and connecting it back. You should get 12 volts. Yeah, there it is, 12 volts. This 12-volt cable can also be connected directly to the battery of the car. That's how we actually had it on the Miata. But since I'm putting the GPS kit inside the car of this one, inside the dash, I'm gonna hook it up this way. All right, so I just spliced that wire, the same wire from up here, just back there. And next, what we want to look for is a wire that turns on with the ignition in the accessory position. So we'll turn it on to the accessory position. All right, so I was able to find one. It's a little difficult to do with one hand, but touching there, grounded over there. And you can see it's about 12 volts right there. And here, I'll disconnect it and try to connect it back. Okay. So yeah, that one turns on with the ignition. Okay, there, I was able to connect that one too. And that's pretty much how you hardwire a GPS system. And the benefit of that is that no renter can disconnect it, because they'd have to come back here and actually look for the wires. And, well, I guess unless they watch this video, they won't know where the wires are at. Next, I'm going to just braid these wires and kind of just like tuck them back nicely. But the second part of this video, I am going to install the kill switch, which involves getting inside the ignition and finding the wires to stop the key from transponding to the computer. All right, there's the braided wire. A nice cleaner look. All right, to get to the ignition wire, we have to remove this cover. And there's one bolt right here and another one on the other side. It's different for every car, but yeah, this is just how it is on the Suzuki. All right, I took the cover off and I found a couple wires that I believe are for the ignition switch. I think I found the one that goes for the key. Poked it right there. Have my multimeter set up, grounded, and you should see. You should see some kind of change in the multimeter when you try to turn on the car. That means it's sending power, or trying to send power to the ignition, to the starter. Here it goes. You see that it's sending a couple volts. That's the one we want to cut and connect to our kill switch. All right, now that I found that ignition wire, I'm going to remove the battery again, just in case. All right, so I cut that ignition wire in half, and I added these wire taps to the ends of them. And now the relay that comes with the kill switch for the GPS is going to connect to this. The power side, the power side is going to connect to these two. And then the non-power side is going to connect to this one right here. Then this white one connects to the yellow that comes from the GPS that tells it to turn on and off. All right, so this is all connected as it should be. I went ahead and plugged the negative terminal back. I'm going to plug this back to where it goes, and this should all turn on. This is without the kill switch activated, so this should turn on the car. All right, here I am on the app, and I'm going to go to the SX4, the Suzuki, and here in the menu, disable ignition. All right, so I just went into the app and activated the kill switch. So let's see if it turns on. Nothing. So that worked. Now going to enable ignition by disabling the kill switch. All right, so this should turn on now. Perfect. All right, so now the last step is to put everything back together and tuck that in nicely. Make sure, tape it up so these wires don't come apart, and probably just zip tie it around there. Once it has a cover on, no one's gonna be able to see it. And this car is pretty much done. Didn't take long at all. And it's a pretty simple setup, especially if you just want to do the hard wire. But I truly recommend the kill switch, especially for Turo cars. All right, got it all put back together. Nice and neat. One thing I did forget to mention, and I'm not sure if I did, the cigarette lighter is a good place to get a ignition cable from, like an accessory, so the GPS can turn on when that turns on. But that's pretty much it. Got it all done.